Hello and welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. Tonight we are going to cover some NACE Overwatch between the two big names in the West group, which is Boise State versus UCI. As you see our around the world of the arena here, the lovely laptops and our lovely logo there on. Tonight is a high skill but relatively low stakes game, as both teams are already guaranteed positions in the playoffs. This is just to find out who will have the better seed going in. I am your host, Colby D'Angelo Alloway, here to call all of the action tonight. And Boise State has a little bit of a rivalry with UCI here. The past 3 times we have faced them, we have not been successful. But the last time we faced them in tournament, in this NACE tournament, we ended up taking them to a map 6. So if there is going to be a breakthrough, tonight is definitely the night for it here at Boise State University. And we're definitely hoping. The feeling is definitely pretty good amongst the players. They're thinking they have a pretty good shot at this just because we came so close to doing it UCI the night before. And just for NACE Collegiate Overwatch, it is a 6v6 competitive best of 5. The map order will go Control, Hybrid, Escort, Assault, and then back to Control, and it is a round robin. And looking at our matchup tonight, Boise State is really going to have to, the biggest thing that Boise State is going to have to do to come out of this on top is they're going to have to focus on their team play and swapping comps when it's not working. Those are 2 things Boise State has specifically struggled against UCI with, just kind of staying on heroes that aren't necessarily getting value for like just a fight or 2 fights too long, and we really need to focus on that. And some additional keys to the game are Doc's keys to the game, which in Overwatch is to understand your comp/play style, focus on each fight, get good ult value, and the objective is greater than kills. And Doc's keys to the game are brought to us by Drop-In Gaming. Drop-In Gaming is the premier online platform for gamers who seek a competition. Play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you're new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop-In Gaming has the right games and competition for you. To begin your competitive gaming journey, sign up at dropingaming.com. Boise State definitely has a lot to live up to tonight, as we're just going to go ahead and get right into the matchup tonight against UC Irvine. UCI here. And our first map is going to be Control on Ilios here. Both teams are kind of setting up. We do see a Diva Winston. This is a very, very dive-heavy map. We do see a lot of dive heroes run here, especially in the tank lineup. We might be able to see a ball tonight just because Matt Merck is so good on that ball hero, as both teams are kind of setting up, and it looks like we have the Pharmacy and the Sombra on the other side of UCI here. And both teams are running double bubble on the side of UCI, and Boise State is running Monkey Diva, so we'll see who has the better, more effective dive here, as Goblin is on that far with Bagel on that Mercy. Goblin is trying to find out the Sombra or the Tracer right now, both very mobile targets. The Goblin will struggle a little bit trying to hit with those direct rockets, as the Boise State tanks have taken the high ground. Kel's going to go ahead and take out Dash, which is a huge pick onto that brick there, and it looks like Boise State is gonna almost cap the point. UCI is doing a little bit of a last-minute contest here, as both Annas are gonna go down to Matt Merck and Light, respectively. Kel's gonna be taken out of mech, but Zarya is gonna be taken down. This is a pretty one-for-one fight on both sides of the teams here, but Boise State is still up one, as they're gonna go ahead and take that point and take it up to 7% and counting. And Dash is gonna go down for the second time before they even get to touch the point again. But Plato is going to lose the Battle of the Tracers in that right-hand room, just barely off screen here. Goblin has charged the Rocket Barrage, so they will probably be trying to use that to engage next fight, as Light is also going to go down to Goblin, no less, on that Pharma, just absolutely dominant, and nobody can do anything as UCI is trying to set up for the next fight. And Nano's going to come out, but Mashiro will go ahead and get eliminated by Plato, which is pretty huge. And I think that just takes UCI out of that fight with Boise State at 35%. Goblin's going to be taken down by Xcal. They will be instantly rezzed. Valk will come out in response to the EMB. Goblin's going to go down again for the Rocket Barrage there, and it looks like Boise State is just... It looks like UCI is just kind of taking a series of scattered fights here instead of one big fight. We see Bagel desperately trying to peel for Chosen on that Ana, with the Nano Monkey jumping onto him. Matt Merck will go down, and that is Boise State down 2-3 in this fight, as Goblin has not returned to the fight yet. Now 4, and you got to think maybe Boise State might lose this point at 65%. And honestly, UCI did finally get the point, but it almost would have been better to have come back for a second fight instead of just giving them 65% off of a very scattered fight.
Nerf this!
As PG guys is going to go ahead and dive in, use the Tifa Palm, and get booped off the map by Goblin. Mashiro is going to get the elimination onto Chosen, though, so ultimately Boise State is still down one in this engage, as UCI is at 24%. You got to think Boise State just wants to reset at this point with that elimination onto Bagel.
Thank you.
Boise State setting up for a push, but Plato's going to go down, which is not what Boise State's looking for here, so they're going to hard reset. It looks like, as UCI is committing the ults to keep them in the spawn door, just as Boise State is backing out. Point percent for UCI is 50% and climbing here. Still not quite over Boise State's 65, but it will be 65 or around there before Boise State is able to reset up for this next fight. And considering UCI has the brick rally, this next fight is looking pretty difficult for Boise State. Goblins going to see what span they can do. They are going to get a successful Rocket Barrage. Chosen is going to go down in there, but both teams are down there. Anna, and especially UCI, is down both supports. So right now, Boise State just has a solo healing Bagel on the Mercy, but that will be enough to take this point here, as Boise State's going to get all the members on the point. Tracer is trying to stall. Monkey is now also in the stall. Our Boise State's own Monkey, Matt Merck, will go down, they were the price there for the 1-point fight, as Boise State is going to go ahead and res him and flip the point at 85 to now 72 and climbing. Goblin's going to get a little bit of extra spam value in here as both teams kind of retreat, lick their wounds, set up for next fight. Boise State definitely has the ultimate advantages going into this next fight, but they will need to watch out for EMP because an ultimate advantage is not going to get you very far at all if you can't press Q.
Helden sterben nicht. I'm gonna have to shoot you down.
Matt Merck looking for the diveable opportunity. They will get hacked by the EMP. Ultimately, not a very big EMP going in from the side of UCI, but it was enough to get Matt Merck. Sometimes that's all you need. But Kel's going to go ahead and take that monkey. Both teams are even down a monkey, so it's going to come down to individual play and ultimate usage for the rest of this fight. And with Goblin and Plato each coming in with a pick here, you got to think maybe map 1 is here for Boise State. PG's going to get Goblin, get the elimination on the Goblin just because of the rocket barrage here. And it looks like a little bit of a C9. They're going to be body blocked off the point, and that's map 1 for Boise State, which is looking great for them tonight, especially after 3 consecutive losses to UCI. Things are looking pretty good tonight. This one might end up, Boise State might end up being able to pick up a win here against a team they previously haven't been able to do so before. And this Goblin highlight was absolutely huge. The rocket barrage was great, especially because it fully negated the rally that was coming out as well. And we do see that lighthouse here, and we do expect both teams to run a dive comp here just because those are very, very dominant things here. But neither team has made a big swap. UCI hasn't made any swaps. Boise State has made the swap over to Symmetra. No, they're just playing. That Plater's going to be back on the Tracer, and it looks like both teams are running an exact mirror of what they did before. Dive Tank's trying to set up, see who they can get, but nobody is fully commit yet, just trying to get the Tracer. Goblins now in the air, getting what spam they can. It looks like UCI is rotating to the point, so Goblins should have some opportunity to get some good spam in here. Plato going down first, though. That's not what Boise State wants to see, and they're just going to give up the point. And I think UCI won that fight simply because they rotated point first. We're going to see Plato running around trying to get that Tracer there. No recall. They will be unable to chase them down as she's just going to back up into her team. And now Plato is in a little bit of a dangerous situation, but is going to fall back and get healed, as he should, demonstrating exceptional patience here. But still in danger to that Sombra, who's just going to go ahead and TP out. 58 for her next EMP. Nano's going to come out. Goblin's going to go ahead and get that elimination on Ash, which is a dash, which is a huge first pick. Going to get the second support with the barrage there, but then Chosen and Matt Merck are also going to go down, leaving both teams even with 2 members down, but UCI with no support. Light's going to go ahead and just get directed there on the point by Goblin, which is pretty huge. Goblin's going to juke that EMP. Quite impressive. Boise State's going to see what they can do with, but with Kel getting eliminated, this fight's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle here. And despite all the work Goblin has put in from the air, this is looking like a lost fight for Boise State, as Bagel just needs to get eliminated and reset here. Looks like they're going to stagger him, so we might have to go off the edge of the map there. Ultimately, a fight that was looking pretty good for Boise State, but then it was made even, and then Boise State lost the fight on point, which is not what we're looking to see here. Boise State, Goblin used the barrage at the beginning of the fight, 63 to their next barrage here. Boise State needs to figure out a way to go against UC Irvine here, and I think getting a pick before rotating the point is going to be huge for them, whether that pick comes from that or some other means. Boise State's going to primal the point. Dash is going to go down, but so is Chosen already. But both supports are already down for UCI again, whereas Boise State still has that Mercy healing, which could prove to be huge going into this fight. Boise State's taking the fight to point, and at this point they absolutely have to. It's 99 to nothing for Boise State here, as Plato's going to win the battle of the Tracers and go ahead and get Slate. Mashero's taking down Bagel. Neither side is with support here, and Goblin's going to commit the barrage just because we really need this point. And XCal on that Sombra, valiant effort to hack, but hacking in front of a barrage is not going to work out too well for you here, as UCI is going to retake the point with Boise State's 12% here. And Goblin at this point has got one of the only members available to touch, but is super, super weak and is going to go down to the Sombra Ana combo there, as the remaining members of Boise State are just getting picked, trying to touch. Matt Merck is going to turn the tides a little, but that elimination on the dash and the pulse bomb onto their own monkey is huge. But Plato at this point is one of the only members on Boise State to touch here, as we do have Bagel come out on the Lucio, and Chosen still on that Ana here. We do have a Wrecking Ball coming out for the side of UCI. Tons of hero swaps here, as both teams are just desperately trying to push this point. Supreme's going to get the elimination onto Plato, but Goblin's going to get the elimination onto Supreme, which is pretty huge. Matt Bird on the ball, on the point. Exactly what Boise State needs right now. Trying to take out that Lucio, which is being a little bit of a problem here, but Boise State does not have the time to waste on not eliminating this Lucio right now, just contesting the point. Now Goblin is there, so we'll see what he can do. He's finally going to get the rocket elimination onto him, and that is 99 to 13%, as Boise State is finally going to take it. Both teams maybe have some members that they don't necessarily want here. We do have Light as the swap onto Soldier 76 here, and Boise State has Dash is going to swap back to the Brig off of the Lucio there. Boise State, now we have Goblin on the Soldier 76 and Bagel on the Lucio instead of Farmercy, and Matt Merck is going to go down first as the ball, which is usually not what you want to see, and Boise State's got to get somebody on point if they're not just going to give this up right here, right now. Dash is going to get boofed off the map by Bagel, ultimately a member that is easily picked by Boise State so far. Bagel kind of sticking around the outskirts of points, looking for some more boots. We have XCal and the Sombra going to go down as well. And it looks like Boise State is winning this fight, even as the attack visor is committed and subverted by Light there on that counter Soldier 76. Bagel's looking pretty weak, jumps right into the monkey. That is both supports down for Boise State. And UCI, you gotta think they're gonna be able to take this. Boise State is still contesting, gonna see what they can do individually. Matt Merck is going to go down, and that point is going to be flipped 99 to 71 for the side of Boise State here. Boise State is now just trying to trickle and touch point. Goblin's gonna get an elimination before touching point, which is pretty big. The rotations are insane for Boise State, making sure somebody's always touching and somebody is always getting eliminations off of the point here. And it does look like Matt Merck is going to be asleep, so they don't have that valuable ball touch there. Light is going to go ahead and take out Goblin in the battle with soldiers. Bagel's going to take out Dash on that Brig. And Kel's going to take out Mashiro on that monkey, which is absolutely huge. And Boise State is actually going to maintain control of this point, even as Plato's going to take out Light. Kel's going to go ahead and get that health back. They were looking pretty weak here. And honestly, exceptional job on Boise State. They've got 89% now and climbing on this point, just through scattered fights and coordinated touching. Light's going to go down to Plato, which is a lovely fight starter for Boise State here. Mashiro's going to go down. Goblin is the price, leaving Boise State only up one, now up two, as Bagel has just been tormenting Dash on that Brig, which is never what you want to see if you're UCI. Kel's going to go ahead and baby Diva on the point, see what they can do. Just going to briefly get away from that bomb member. It's going to get the pick on the Supreme on that Ana, and this is final fight for both sides here, staggering onto the point. Light's got the Reaper on point. Plato's going to go ahead and say, no way, not today. Eliminate him immediately. Now Boise State is just cleaning up the individual members of UCI here that are desperately throwing themselves onto the point. And what a map win for Boise State there. That was almost 99% of Boise State just rotating people to touch in a relatively staggered fight and rotating who's touching and who's getting eliminations. And I think Boise State won that first map because their team play was just better than UCI's, because the amount of coordination that it takes to pull off something like that, like the coordinated touchings and the coordinated eliminations, that's a lot of rotating. That is a lot of team-based rotating, and I would have loved to have been in the comms in that matchup, because Boise State's communication was just on point. They always had at least one person there and one person getting the eliminations off of the point. And with that, we're going to go ahead to our break before we go into the next matchup.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your Guard adventure.
Hello and welcome back into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. I'm still your host, Colby D'Angelo Alloway, and we are still covering Boise State versus UCI in NACE Overwatch. Boise State has picked up a win on Map 1, and I'm told that Map 2 will in fact be Numbani at the request of UCI, which is huge because UCI has a an almost insurmountable win rate with double bubble on defense on UCI. So Boise State will really have quite the gargantuan task ahead of them for Map 2, but they've been practicing very specifically against double bubble comps on Numbani. So we'll see if Boise State is able to pick this match win up here, which would put us at match point if Boise State wins this, and it would put us at an even 1-to-1 split if UCI wins this, and honestly, it could go either way, and we're going to go ahead and get right into that match. UCI is on defense first here, and it actually looks like they have a diva on defense, which is not necessarily something that either we or Boise State would have been expecting here on Numbani, because usually they run a double bubble, which is that monkey Zarya. Boise State is in the red here, coming out with Reinhardt May. Looks like we're running a wall and maul comp on Numbani first point, which is always interesting here. And UCI has deviated from the double bubble comp. They have the diva monkey instead of Zarya monkey, as Matt Merck and Mashiro are both going to trade. That's a main tank for a main tank. Pretty reasonable trade here, as both teams are forced to back off at least a little bit without their main tank. PG1 is pushing Boise State just beyond that room, but knows they can't go into it, so they're just kind of seeing what spam they can get as both sides wait for their main tanks to respawn. Matt Merck is back here. The wall is going to go down. It looks like Monkey will also be back. Chosen getting picked first is not what you want to see if you're Boise State. You got to think we maybe want to play passively unless we get a pick onto their main healer. This is looking like a lost fight. UCI just kind of waiting for Boise State in that room. They know they can't go in that room because they're walking into May Cole Cassidy. And Chosen's got to figure out a way to reunite with their team as they're in the back of the room. Their Dynamite's going to come out. Immortality Field's going to come down from Chosen, be eliminated. Chosen's going to get eliminated for a second time, trying to group back up with their team. Maxwell will also go down. That is Boise State down 2, down now 4. And that is a lost fight for Boise State in which Kel will end up getting staggered here on that baby diva. Boise State very much had a very specific expectation for UCI, and UCI is not running that. I think it's putting Boise State a little bit, they definitely didn't expect that, and it's kind of putting them a little bit on their back foot here. Big ultimate, though, with the Blizzard going up here. We need to keep Chosen safe as we go into this next engage. If we lose Chosen, we lose the fight. Plato's going to go down. That's our big ultimate for this fight. And you got to think, these picks on the side of UCI, they have known exactly who they have needed to eliminate, and they have eliminated somebody in rotation, the 3 fights that Boise State has lost here. But Boise State is patiently waiting for that May back. Not going to take a fight that they know is a guaranteed loss as they just kind of wait here. Boise State needs to quit getting picked in rotation if they want to even take this first point from UCI. Bob's going to come down, but so is Maywall, so Bob does not get in that room for the side of Boise State. UCI light on the Tracer, looking for a good pulse bomb opportunity. Boise State's going to go speed lower, maybe commit the Blizzard. That is a huge 6-man purple as Supreme is going to get the elimination on Chosen, which fantastic on a play, and that's a double-man bomb just as Matt Merck goes down. And UCI just used ultimates better that fight. It took us just a little bit too long to get that Blizzard out, and by the time we even were in the position to do it, Chosen was already down. Boise State needs to protect their members in rotation here, but they do have a massive ultimate advantage, so as long as Boise State presses Q, they should be able to take this first. As long as Boise State fills 2 conditions, they got to get everybody there, which is proven difficult, and they got to press Q. Plato getting onto the point, thinking about committing the Blizzard, waiting for the opportunity. Mashiro is just going to boop 4 members of Boise State off the map there before they even get to use their ultimates, and that was some incredible monkey play that we just watched. Matt Merck is going to use their ultimates, get the monkey, but at this point, Monkey's already booped 4 members of your team off the point, and that is Boise State.
10 seconds.
Now just have to desperately throw bodies on the point and see if they can even cap point 1 here. Light's going to go ahead and get the elimination onto Maxwell, which is not what Boise State is looking for. Kel does have the bomb, which will give him some more opportunities to contest here. Huge bomb, Kel! Kel might have just saved the game, even if they got eliminated here. Now Boise State just needs to get some members on the point. It is just the 2 tanks that we're trying to eliminate here. Plato's going to go down to Mashiro, and we've got to stop that ball from spinning as Maxwell's going to come around and see what they can do here. The sound barrier is going to come out for the side of Boise State. Chosen's going to get that elimination onto PG1, and honestly, we have this fight because Kel got the triple bomb. Matt Merck's going to go ahead and pick Matt Merck on Mashiro, on that ball, and they're going to go ahead and dive into the backline on that Ash, as you should, as a ball get the elimination there. And Boise State is holding the members of UCI at bay, just barely off the point. Just 1 member barely contesting for the side of UCI. That is Supreme on the Moira. They will quickly go down to Plato. UCI does not have a coordinated push right now. They are just throwing bodies on the point and getting eliminated. But Mashiro's going to get Bagel. But that's not ultimately going to be enough to stop Boise State from getting it. And I cannot emphasize enough, Boise State 1.1 because Kel got the triple bomb. We did not have the opportunity to take this point if Kel didn't get that triple kill. That was entirely unexpected to everyone. I would venture to guess even the members of Boise State, and Boise State can't keep relying on clutch individual play if we want to win against UCI. But clutch individual play has gotten this to point 2. We need to come up with a strategy against UCI on that ball, now Ball Diva, was Monkey Diva before, picking us during rotations, and it looks like the swap Boise State is making is just dive, more individually sustainable mobile characters that can kind of get out of the way. As this fight's going to start with Maxwell getting a huge pulse onto Supreme. Dash is also going to go to that. Both supports down for UCI here, which is huge, as Boise State is just kind of moving in to do a little bit of cleanup here on the point. PG will be taken out of mech, and it looks like the remaining members of UCI have managed to get out of the fight and reset. Plato is on the hunt for what we don't quite know yet, as Sombra's going to invis skate around the corner there. And Macho is going to drop some huge bombs onto the point, but hopefully the members of Boise State will be able to avoid, as Plato is, I think, trying to scout out that Sombra or that Tracer right now. He's looking around an awful lot. Plato's going to find the Diva, however, be forced to use ultimate as a safety precaution here. Going to try to get the elimination. Zenyatta will not be able to get it because that Sombra and the Brig are both right there. Wise decision to back out. Boise State, however, is still fighting on the point, seeing what they're going to get it, because the members of UCI were just barely off that point there. And now at this point, it's just Boise State cleanup for the members that did not touch. That is PG1, that is Light. And Mashiro's going to get the elimination onto Plato, who just pushed just a hair too far there. Matt Merck coming back to point to get some heals here. And this is... Boise State can win this if they win the next fight here, but they're walking into Transcendence and EMP. And at this point, they've got to be expecting the EMP, and they've got to have a plan for it. And their plan definitely isn't a sound barrier, because Bagel is still 70% off, understandably. Matt Merck doesn't get to play the game. They get stunned out of everything there immediately after using their ultimate and eliminated. And Plato, bless his soul, committed to that dive with Matt Merck, and both of them got absolutely bodied in that room there. Maxwell's going to go ahead and take out Dash with a huge pulse bomb. Maxwell's going to go down themselves, but Cal is going to get Supreme. So this is a pretty scrappy fight with both sides taking heavy casualties here. Minefield is going to come out from the side of UCI. That Sombra is looking really, really weak there. For Chosen on the Moira is on the hunt there, as we see both sides kind of like backing up, resetting, getting a full 6. Gotta think EMP is gonna come out this fight. Boise State needs to have a plan for that. Bagel is now 80% to the sound barrier, so if their Sombra stalls for much longer, Boise State will have an immediate answer. Looks like they're gonna come out on the 2 members of Boise State, Matt Merck and Plato. Plato is gonna go ahead and get eliminated immediately, because what are you gonna do on Doomfist when you're hacked? Kel is also hacked. Orb of Discord on Matt Merck, making his life much harder. Chosen's gonna chase him down with that healing orb there. Diva Bomb is going to come out. Plato's going to get the elimination on the Light. Kel is getting perma-hacked here by this Sombra, as Plato's also going to get the elimination on the Light. And then Matt Merck still has the Orb of Discord. His life as Monkey is still made infinitely harder by that Zenyatta in the back. That Zenyatta that's going to go down, asking you shall receive there. Maxwell's going to save Matt Merck. Matt Merck's going to go ahead and eliminate Dash, so it's both supports down. Decided UCI, which is huge for Boise State, and you got to think UCI is a little bit struggling here. They just have to get members on point. With Matt Merck spawn camping the right spawn door, that might be a little bit difficult for them. The huge pulse bomb into Bagel. Light's going to get uppercut by Plato, though. Hack goes on to 2 members, and Matt Merck goes down. Plato and Cal and Maxwell are all in a scary situation there. This is 2 members of Boise State in, Chosen and Cal, and neither one of them is looking too hot right now, as Kel's going to get hacked as Baby Diva on the point with it. Discord Chosen unable to touch, as they are just thrown in the back line by Mashiro and the Sombra. Boise State almost had that there, just barely off, 2.7 meters, and that's a feels real bad. That pulse bomb coming out was the kind of the herald of doom here, and then Matt Merck, Maxwell, and Plato all going down really sealed Boise State's fate here. And at this point, the Chosen Coalescence came out, but there wasn't much that the Moira could do at that point, because it was just Moira and Baby Diva. So Boise State is going to lose that, but ultimately 2.07 meters, not a bad push, but this is the map that UCI chose, so you have to think they have a plan to full cap the payload here. Boise State needs a defensive plan that can hopefully match and go against that. Hopefully no more brawl comps against the dive, because Boise State tried that almost all of first point, and it definitely did not work for them. They got picked in rotations far too often just because UCI's dive was that competent, and Boise State had that specific plan for Double Bubble, which is Zarya Monkey, not Diva Monkey. I definitely think they gave us something that was unexpected that we will learn from in the future going against UCI.
1. Attackers incoming.
Kel getting some initial spam there, as all good divas do, and then getting out just in the nick of time. PG1 is going to set up on the high ground. Mashiro is going to set up with them. They're looking for somebody to dive there. They're going to drop because they don't see anything that they like. Any juicy dive targets there. Play-Doh on that Reaper, going to terrorize the tanks with Matt Merck right there with him, and Boise State is in that room. Light on that Tracer is going to force them to at least look at the point and gain UCI some ground here, but neither side has gained any eliminations. Play is forced to teleport back up to high ground after getting booped off. Understandable. And UCI can't get out of that room without a pick right now, especially into that Reaper. And with Boise State getting the pick onto XCal, that's absolutely huge. They can now walk in that room somewhat carefully. Mashiro's also going to go down, and that seals this fight for Boise State, as Light is also going to go down. That is Boise State up 3. And it looks like the supports are just going to try to hold shield, get out. Boise State is coming after them, though. Bagel's going to get the elimination on the screen. Liana and Boise State at this point should back off, and it looks like they're trying to, as Kel is the last remaining member. Barely keeps their mech here, as Mashiro's going to go ahead and dive in on that monkey, but be unable to find anything. But XCal on the Cole Cassidy will find the flash fan on the Play-Doh, though, which is not what you're looking for. If you're Boise State starting this down 1. Bagel's going to push into the room just a little bit. Chosen is also going to push into the room, and it looks like attack and defense have been switched here, as UCI is just going to go to the point as Boise State is trying to win the fight past the room, giving up some ticks here that they may not be able to afford to give. Maxwell and Play-Doh are going to touch the point there, stop the giving of ticks there, and 1 tick is an acceptable price to pay for a 1 fight, but Dash is going to eliminate Bagel, which is not looking so good for Boise State, especially as Chosen's going to go down immediately after that. Boise State has no support, and at this point it is a time game. They're going to fall back and not touch last second. They miscalculated just by a hair of a second there, and that's first point going to UCI with 4 minutes and 13 seconds remaining. Boise State has to have a better strategy on this second point, a better dive strategy if they hope to hold that card. Because since Boise State didn't full cap, UCI just needs to get it to that little goalpost just shy of capping, and with 3 minutes and 53 seconds to do it, Boise State's got to readjust their strategies. Chosen and Bagel are going to get eliminated. Matt Merck, the members of UCI are pushing into Boise State spawn, but we've got 5, almost 6 ultimates, so hopefully we'll be able to push out of our spawn doors as the members of UCI are going to leave and let Boise State kind of do their own business, though. Boise State has 1 good fight going into the second point, should they choose to take it, and they have the ultimates to do so. They will need to watch out for the Cole Cassidy Deadeye, and they will need to watch out for that pulse bomb, and probably Nano too now, actually. But Play-Doh's going to go ahead and get the elimination on the Supreme. Boise State is committing to this fight. A death blow would really seal it for the side of Boise State here. There's that Deadeye that we were wary of. The death blow is going to come out, but finds nothing. And Play-Doh himself is going to go down. Matt Merck getting value on the monkey ult, though, with that elimination onto PG1. Kel, exactly 1 HP, is going to be meleeed by Mashiro, and it looks like the members of Boise State are out of this fight. The Deadeye got more value than the Death Blossom, and that ended up costing Boise State that fight, and they get a staggered one at best on the second point, should they choose to take it. So they might be just in the position of trying to defend third point. They're deciding the last second touch with an aggressive sound barrier to get Boise State in and hopefully get an elimination. But if they don't get an elimination within the next couple seconds, Boise State is going to lose this fight. And they can't afford to lose anybody as Matt Merck is forced to back off the point. Super, super weak. Cal's going to go down before they can even remech, and that's not looking good for Boise State here in this fight. Still contesting the card, though, at 0.8 meters. Matt Merck's going to go down. That's Boise State down, too. The remaining members are unable to touch before that cart is pushed to 0.7 meters. And Boise State at this point has to reset and defend third point for 3 minutes and 30 seconds, which is a pretty tall ask, especially with no ultimates. And it looks like Boise State is swapping up the comp. Matt Merck is swapping onto that Reinhardt, which could prove to be beneficial for the side of Boise State. And Play-Doh, 81 to next EMP, which could stop, which is almost a guaranteed fight winner for the side of Boise State here that they really need to have charged before this next engage. Plato 93 and climbing as the fight is going to begin here. Matt Merck, purple, gonna have to be forced to back off a little bit. Huge EMP going on to 4 members. Dash is going to get charged and eliminated. Plato is the price, but with that massive EMP and all of the follow-up, that is Boise State winning this fight and kind of stemming the bleeding that was third point with 3 minutes and 30 seconds. PG1 though, just kind of backcapping on Boise State as Bagel here comes to desperately try to stop that. Well, Light is also on the point there. The 2 members that snuck out of the fight, and oh my gosh, Boise State is now in final couple of fight territories as Plato's going to hack that ball. Chosen's going to get the elimination onto the ball off of the back of Plato's hack. Plato is hunting for that on the back. Knows he needs to get over 4 Nano. X-Scout's going to find him out and get that elimination. Supreme still has that Nano, and it will presumably come out onto the Monkey or the Cole Cassidy to get some eliminations. It's sent in the back. It's going to come out onto the Brig of all people, which actually is pretty dangerous for Boise State, as X-Scout is going to be the one that gets the elimination on the Maxwell. However, an aggro beat's going to keep Kel alive just barely long enough to get back in their mech, as the members of Boise State are forced into an all-out brawl on the point. Kel cannot find the elimination onto that Cole Cassidy, and Matt Merck is going to go down, and X-Scout's going to go down to... X-Scout, excuse me, is going to eliminate Bagel, and it looks like the members of UCI, even in this brawl on point, they're just going to win it there. A valiant effort on the side of Boise State, but we ultimately were caught out by their dive, and I think that is what ended up costing us that map there on Numbani. But we knew that that map was going to be, if not the hardest, one of the hardest maps that we faced, because we know that UCI has a ton of success, specifically on double bubble, but also all other forms of dive. Boise State, they don't have the individual skill to match the level of the UCI dive, so they have to play better as a team, which is what we saw in Oasis. And this is still a game. Both teams are even tied 1-1 here, and we will be going to a map 3, which is Boise State's choice, and will end up being Escort.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
Hello and welcome back into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. I am still your host, Colby D'Angelo Alloway, here to call all of the action for tonight's NACE Overwatch broadcast, which is still Boise State versus UCI. Boise State picked up map 1, Control Ilios. UCI has picked up map number 2 on Numbani. And we're going to a map number 3, which is Havana on that escort, though. And we'll see with both teams even and neither at match point. This next map will be very, very determinant in whether or not we go to a map. We're definitely going to a map 4, but whether or not we go to map 5 or map 6, like we went last time, we went off against them here. And so Boise State does have a pretty specific strategy that we're looking for on Havana, but something to watch out for here is that Havana and most of the escort maps in general favor dive comps, and UCI has proven that they are very good, especially individually at dive comps. So Boise State has to play the dive better as a team should they choose to play that, but Boise State has also been known to pull out things like a Reinhardt May and hold first point on Havana. And so with that, we will get right into the matchup. And there it is. We do see Matt Merck on the Reinhardt and Kel on that Sigma. Kel just as good at the Sigma as they are on the Diva, which is to say very, very good. Matt Merck on the Reinhardt usually does an exceptional job. And we actually see a massive mix-up for UCI, which is Mashiro and PG1 on Orisa and Sigma, which actually makes a lot of sense, and they appear to be running a spam comp instead of the dive that we expected of them on this high ground here. But spam is very, very common on Havana, mostly for these incredibly long sight lines. Excal's going to win the battle of the Widowmakers on Goblin there, which is unfortunate and hopefully not telling of the rest of the map, as both teams are running double sniper spam comps. We have a complete mirror on both sides, so this will come down to individual skill and playing your role in the team better than the enemy here. Matt Merck going to be forced to kind of like peek the corner there as they're dropped to 76 HP, and they get an Orb of Harmony, which doesn't make you feel a ton better looking at UCI's spam here. As Matt Merck is going to try to win the duel with PG1, they will be unable to capitalize on that elimination there. PG1 will get out relatively unscathed. We hear the Widowmaker hooking around somewhere. Nope, she's just sitting top left. Goblin's going to win against Excal, leaving each Widowmaker 1-1 here in the Battle of the Snipers. Amplification Matrix is going to come down. Huge job on Chosen on charging that first. This will end up being what looks like a fight win, as Dash is going to be eliminated here because of that Amplification Matrix, which is huge, as both Light and Mashiro and PG1 are all going to fall down immediately after that. There are a couple of things that come into play in a mirror matchup. You need to have better individual skill, and Chosen was able to charge the ultimate quicker, and you need to fulfill your role in your team better. So there are two main things at play here, and Chosen did win the Battle of the Baptistes, at least for that fight, in getting the Amplification Matrix up first. And it looks like Bagel is winning the battle of the Zenyatta ultimates here, but just by 9% here, as Excal is going to pop the Widowmaker ultimate, and Goblin doesn't have anything to counter, so Light is going to take Bagel out there just on the headset, which might end up kind of putting a little bit of a damper on Boise State's next push here. Plato is still going to commit the Dragons anyway, see what they can get there. Immortality Field is going to come out. They're going to get Supreme. That's in for a Zen. And Bagel should be responding at this point. Plato's going to go down to the Light's own Dragons here. Immortality Field is going to come out and keep Kel just barely alive through all those shields. Their Goblin's going to go down. That is no DPS for the side of Boise State, as their tanks are going to fall back through the door, understandably being down 2. They're kind of looking for that elimination on the Orisa. Kel is. They will be unable to find it. That Hanzo wants Kel pretty bad. And looking at both DPS for the side of UCI, Kel's just going to understandably back up, trying to get the rock of the Sigma. They will get it! Kel's winning the battle of the Sigmas. They do have their own Sigma ult. And they do have the right to use it, as they're the only Sigma in play here, as Xcal's going to get the elimination on the Goblin, who has swapped over to Genji, but Plato's going to win the battle of the Hanzos and get the elimination on the Light. Dash will finally get Kel before they can use their Sigma ultimate, which just makes it an ultimate for next fight, as Plato's going to go ahead and get Xcal, winning the battle of the snipers there. There is no battle of the Widowmakers. There's just Hanzo versus Widowmaker here, putting Plato in a really difficult position of being the only sniper against two snipers. So unless Goblin is able to get in and distract one of those, this is kind of going to be an uphill battle for Plato here. Kel's going to come down with the Sigma ultimate, which is huge and exactly what you're looking for. Is going to land on several members of the side of UCI. Dash will go down, but so will Goblin and Bagel. Mashiro will also go down, leaving teams even now disadvantaged. No support for the side of Boise State. Plato's going to go down, but so is Light, leaving Boise State at a disadvantage, and Kel's going to come down after that. And Boise State's fate was sealed the minute they lost Chosen second in that, or Chosen as the second support in that fight there. Matt Burke will be the final remaining member, easily picked off and somewhat staggered. And now UCI is put in a phenomenal holding position, because spam comp in this room, there are only so many points of entry, and a spam comp can effectively look at all of them. So Boise State getting stopped here, they will have to probably use some ultimates or get some majorly huge picks here if they want to be able to take this second point. I think the big ultimate we're looking for here is possibly Blade. Bagel's trying to win the battle against the Hanzo. Plato's going to go down, so are Dash and Mashiro. However, Light's also going to go down, though, so it looks like they're just getting the individual picks here. PG1 is also going to go down, but UCI does get a recontest here with staggered members, should they choose to take it. Kel looks like he's going to camp that door, try to stop them from getting here, and UCI will be body blocked by Kel just outside of point, but they set up just to the right, so not giving up a ton of space here, but holding outside of Boise State spawn doors might prove to be a bad idea as we go into this next fight here, and Boise State is able to collapse on them. The rock will be landed. Immortality Field will come down and be subverted. Sigma ult's gonna come out. Feels a little greedy to Sigma ult right outside of their spawn, but it's going to go ahead and buy UC Irvin at least 10 seconds here, as Boise State needs to respawn and set up. And it looks like UCI is just going to hold them right outside their spawn doors. And third point Havana is one of the hardest points to cap in this entire game. And UCI has guaranteed that they get not one hold, as most teams just hold in the castle, but two holds as they hold Boise State in their spawn. Blade's going to come out with Discord Orb, will go out onto Goblin. Goblin will be unable to get anything with the Blade, but Mashiro will go down to Plato there, leaving both members even, with Boise State at a slight advantage just because DPS for main tank. And that Widow, they know he's back there, so hopefully they'll be able to not get sniped, as PG1 is going to get chosen, leaving Boise State at a huge disadvantage, forcing the Tranquility out as they're bodied in this room here. Kel's pushing, and Kel's pushing hard. Goblin's going to win the battle of the Widowmakers again with Xcal. They have swapped over to the Widowmaker on that Genji, leaving Goblin 2-1 in the battle of the Widows. Mashiro is going to eliminate Matt Merck, winning the battle of the Orissas on that individual level. Kel wants him, though. Will be unable to get him and will lose his own life because he pushed too far. And at this point, you got to wonder if that's the end of the Boise State push, even as especially as Transcendence is committed by UCI. Xcal's going to get a lovely headshot onto Bagel, and Boise State just has to reset. UCI looks like they're pushing back into Boise State spawn doors. Some of their tanks at least are, putting Boise State in a difficult position where, again, they have to win 2 fights if they want to cap this point. And winning the fight in the castle is already hard enough. UCI putting them in the position where they have to win the fight outside of their spawn as well just makes life harder for Boise State. And they have one good attempt at this with 43 seconds remaining. Xcal's going to win the Battle of the Widows on Goblin with a headshot, leaving the Widowmakers 2-2 here. Light is going to go ahead and eliminate Chosen, and that's fight over for Boise State, basically. Especially as Matt Merck is going to go down at this point. That fight didn't pan out, so now they're all going to have to desperately rush there with 20 seconds remaining. Boise State doesn't have the opportunity to really set up the way they would like. They have to do so quickly and at a massive ultimate disadvantage, walking into not only bongos, but also Sigma ultimate, dragons, and amplification matrix. Chosen might even need the amplification matrix just to get Boise State out of their spawn here, which the amplification matrix will come down for Chosen. No eliminations have come out so far. Supreme's going to get eliminated through that amplification matrix. Sigma ultimate's going to come out onto Kel. Kel will get eliminated there, but so will Supreme and Dash. That is no support for the side of UCI. XCal will eliminate Plato. Immediately after Plato eliminates Dash, and at this point, Matt Merck is just seeing what they can do. Going to take that Sigma weak with the Discord Orb as Bagel's going to get eliminated, but so is PG1 and XCal. Huge! Matt Merck will go down, and at this point, Boise State has no one else they can throw on the point, even though Matt Merck and Goblin got eliminations there. And now, this final fight was going to be an uphill battle for Boise State regardless. They did what they could ultimately with Bagel and Matt Merck making valiant efforts on the point. But Bagel, as a solo point Zenyatta, you're going to go down. And so he went down to XCal, and then Matt Merck went down immediately after that. But they both got eliminations, which is incredibly important. And not capping third point on Havana is actually expected in most of these matchups where both teams are relatively evenly skilled. Last point, Havana is huge. When Havana was first released, even Overwatch League players couldn't end up capping third point against other Overwatch League players. So that really tells you just how difficult a point it is to cap. And if you're a player yourself and you've ever played on Havana, you know it too. So Boise State definitely does have a good shot at this to win this map. It will be an uphill battle just because everything with UCI is an uphill battle tonight. It looks like Boise State might be setting up for their close hold. It looks like Boise State is definitely setting up for their close hold. This is what we love to see. The idea here is to take the fight to take at least one fight right outside of their spawn. If you have to wipe, you wipe everybody on cart. The goal of this is not to hold them there for 3 minutes. It's just to get like a minute, maybe minute 30 off of the clock is what would be an exceptional hold by Boise State if they could get a minute 30 off the clock before resetting up for second fight. Kel is going to get purpled, and that immortality field is going to come down, and Dash is going to be eliminated, which is pretty good for Boise State, but Dash will respawn almost immediately because they're right outside of their spawn. Matt Merck's going to go down. Not looking good for Boise State. Boise State is put on kind of on their back foot here. Kel's going to come in and peel for Chosen, but it's not quite enough. They get the elimination on the light. PG1 is still right there. Kel is still holding, trying to get all the seconds off the clock they possibly can here. No ultimates are committed by the side of Boise State because they don't have any, but they end up getting about 50 seconds off the clock, which is really good for a close hold, actually, especially against a team like UCI. We said a minute 30 would be exceptional, which makes 50 pretty good for Boise State to get off here, but UCI is now pushing up, trying to put Boise State in a difficult position, but with only their tanks, we have to think as long as nobody gets picked in rotation, Boise State definitely has this point. And now with 2 minutes and 47 seconds remaining, Boise State has set up where most teams set up. Plato getting the elimination on the Supreme, which is pretty big here. It almost looks like the attack and defense squads have been switched as Boise State is now on point, while UC Irvin is further back around that bus there. Kel's looking to spawn camp that Anna, and honestly feels rude, but I support. Because if they're Anna, the longer they can keep that Anna out of the fight, the better chance they have of winning. Because even though the Anna has respawned, UCI is effectively down one here, even as Matt Merck and Bagel are going to go down. Chosen is also going to go down as well. So even though UCI was effectively down a member, too many members of Boise State pushed that Anna and left Matt Merck in the front line kind of hanging. And then as soon as your front line goes down, so does everybody else. And it looks like Boise State does get a recontest here if they choose to with that Lucio speed, but they're walking right into Nanoblade, and I think they know it. Sound barrier will be huge in this next fight, determining who wins. Ooh, that's pretty big. Doesn't Sound barrier doesn't hit Chosen, and so Chosen is going to go down, but so is XCal, leaving Boise State numbers even, but still at a disadvantage here. Chosen's going to swap over to Moira. Goblin's going to get the elimination onto Dash, leaving Boise State now down 1 with the elimination of Matt Merck and Bagel here. Down 2 here as a couple remaining members of Boise State see what they can do. Goblin is going to be eliminated by PG1, who's just popping off on that Sigma. And I mean, they've been popping off all game on all off tanks, but really that fight belongs to PG1. The Nanoblade was nice, and it did end up getting Chosen. But really what won that fight was all the picks immediately after that PG1 was bringing to this fight. Boise State is put in a difficult position to set up even, as UCI is so far forward. They're going to go ahead and speed onto that Orisa, as to do with the Reinhardt. Ooh! Dekel, Diva Bomb going to get 2, Mashiro and Supreme, which is absolutely huge. Matt Merck really wants to live, but that Genji absolutely wants Matt Merck. That was some Lucio healing in a dream that got Matt Merck through that there. As now they live with 230 HP. Chosen will be able to be in this next fight before, but they are on Moira, which offers more overall healing than Baptiste, but less overall utility and much less damage, as that ball is going to come out and heal the Moira. Matt Merck lands a shatter right onto the Orisa, but she fortifies just in time. Light's going to go ahead and get Bagel and Plato. Matt Merck and Chosen will fall immediately after, and at that point, Boise State just hard committed and didn't get the value they needed to get out of the shatter, and so they ended up losing that fight because Light was in your backline, which seems to be a common theme, honestly, with Light just getting the constant eliminations. And now with this next fight, Boise State has to find a way other than Sound Barrier to deal with Nanoblade. Boise State going up 2 going into this next fight, but Nanoblade still hasn't come out and might not be committed this engage, will be committed next engage, as they are now down 3. UCI being incredibly patient with that Nanoblade there. They knew they were down 2, and so they're just going to go ahead and GG use it next fight, but Bagel might be able to charge a Sound Barrier if this next engage takes too long and they wait too long with the Nanoblade. Looks like it's going to come out right there before Bagel can get the Sound Barrier. They knew what their win condition was. Chosen's going to kite for as long as he possibly could on that Moira. Will end up finally getting eliminated, but as the only casualty of a Nanoblade, not too bad. Kel's going to also pick up the Light is also going to pick up the elimination on Kel, while Plato was eliminated off screen. Light's going to do some cleanup on Matt Merck, so it's not actually the Nanoblade that won them that fight, but just Light as normal Genji.
60 seconds remaining.
It's always interesting to see a Genji player that's more scary just as default Genji than Nanoblading, and that's definitely what Boise State is facing right now. So maybe a Cole Cassidy would benefit them? XCal's going to get the Deadeye elimination onto Bagel, which is not what Boise State wants to see as we're in this touch here. Lose a lot of utility with that speed boost. Trying to get Goblin around the map on Reaper. XCal's going to get eliminated by Plato, which is pretty big. Chosen's going to get the skill orb on the Light, which we always love to see here. Goblin's going to go down to Supreme, but PG1's going to go down at the same time. And Boise State, you got to think as long as Chosen stays up, they're going to win this fight. And with 15 seconds remaining, UCI really can't afford to lose this fight. Now their members have 9 seconds to desperately see what bodies they can get on the point, and with no ultimates walking into a Death Blossom, Boise State might have this map of Havana unless UCI can pull out a miracle. Light's going to go down on that Doomfist, just desperately trying to touch. Plato's seeing what they can see from the high ground here, taking some damage from that Cole Cassidy a little bit. PG1 is also going to go down on that ball. Goblin's waiting for the opportunity to Death Blossom. Got to get the Diva out of mech first, though. He's just going to go ahead and push it and get that Ana, which is exactly what you're looking for. Individual. XCal's going to get caught out in the high noon. Always feels bad for the Cole Cassidy mains, but in this case, it worked in Boise State's favor. So we're pretty happy about that, as Boise State's going to pick up that map win on Havana, leaving us with map 4 being Assault and UCI's pick. And the last map they picked, they were pretty good at. to say the least about it. So we're going to go to a break, and then we'll bring you back to our assault map.
Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Greetings, friends. It's another week of highlights before our first playoff weekend of the Overwatch Collegiate Championship Series. To start, we have Kennesaw State University versus Worcester Polytechnic Institute on Kings Row. We get to focus on Prototype and their diva play at the initial choke point after transitioning into the streets phase. Prototype manages to corral WPI into the side alleyway after tossing out a well-placed self-destruct on the payload. Then, immediately following up with a double remech kill despite Fried Chickenator's attempt to prevent with a slightly delayed charge. Once fully remeched, Fried Chickinator finds himself soon after falling victim to Prototype for a stellar 4K.
Hey there everyone, Kenobi here once again to bring you our second play of this week, this time brought to you by Boise State's very own Lucio player, Bagel. A perfect Lucio rollout here on Lijiang Tower Gardens gets Bagel in the perfect position ahead of the opposition, to the point sending 3 of the enemy into the drink and back to spawn. Then for good measure, just another one. Did anyone say Lucio diff?
And to conclude our final group stage highlights, we have Northwood University versus Stratford University on Kings Row. It wouldn't be Kings Row for Northwood without a Bastion in their comp, but this highlight is surprisingly not on Mundata's statue. Boat finds their crazy play after turning the second to last corner, unleashing hell onto Stratford, first denying the Riptire, and then blowing up 4 members to make way for that golden box of victory, while also putting on a show with a last second 720 aerial spin, just to give a flex for all those viewing audience members. And that will do it for our highlights before the playoff weekend of the
Hello and welcome back into the Boise State Esports Arena. I'm still your host, Colby D'Angelo Alloway, covering NACE Overwatch Boise State versus UCI. Boise State has managed to go up 2 maps to UCI's 1, and we are really here at Boise State hoping tonight is the night. Out of all of these matchups that we finally managed to take down UCI, we are going to Temple of Anubis, which is an assault map, and there are 3 ways, I would say, that are equally likely that this map ends up. I mean, one ends up with a Boise State win, and then at that point, Boise State just wins and has a better position going into the finals. There's the equally likely UCI wins, which would put Boise State and UCI at 2-2, and we would go to a map 5, which is Control. And honestly, considering the last time we faced in NACE, we went to a map 6. That is pretty likely. And then the third equally likely option is a draw on Assault, which would take us to a map 5 again on Control, and UCI would still be the one to pick the next Control map. So Boise State just really wants to win it here tonight. As we look at both of the teams set up, we have Matt Merck and Kel on Monkey Diva, which we know they're very, very good at. We have UCI with the return of the double bubble, which Boise State actually did win against on Control, but they lost expecting double bubble on Numbani. So we'll see what they're able to do. Light goes in on that Doom Fist, and with no stuns, Chosen is going to get eliminated by Dash on that Brigitte, which is not a good fight starter for Boise State as they rotate. This could be Numbani all over again. Boise State members just getting picked in rotations and unable to do anything, as Goblin is also going to go down. Asleep's going to come out. Kel's going to get stunned. Matt Merck's going to get stunned. Everybody's getting stunned. Nobody gets to have a good time on Boise State, as all the members are going to wipe. After all, on the back of that elimination on the Moira first. Boise State had a similar problem on Numbani, where they couldn't ever reset where they couldn't ever get everybody through one single rotation, and maybe some stuns would help with Boise State with that, but with Goblin on the Sombra and Plato on that Reaper, we really just got to get people there quickly. Chosen's going to go down first. Again, Matt Merck will follow him immediately after that. Light is going to be the price for UCI, but all the members of Boise State are going to go down. Kel getting the Baby Diva elimination onto Dash, though, which feels a little bit good. And at this point, Boise State needs another plan in their rotation, right? They've gotten Chosen picked, which is not necessarily Chosen's fault for rotating with the team, but they have to have an answer for when UCI just jumps on them. And it looks like their attempt is they're going to try to go mid before the Doomfist gets back. Matt Merck will go down up on that high ground away from the Moira heals. So will Bagel. Primal Rage is coming out, though, which is good for Boise State, that at least they don't have to go against it next fight. But it's going to go ahead and pick up 4 members. The monkey mechanics for this Primal Rage are absolutely huge on the side of Mashiro there. And Boise State is just going to Kel's going to get staggered, which is always sad. We hate to see it. But Boise State is going to go down. And if they keep trying the same thing, they're going to keep losing. Goblin's going to get the elimination on XCal and PG1, putting Boise State up 2, now up 3, with Goblin getting with Plato, getting the death buff and elimination on the Mashiro. Matt Merck coming in with his own monkey mechanics, getting a single kill, and maybe Boise State over-ulted, but we got first point. But because we over-ulted first point, there is no possibility of snowballing second point here, as we will just be approaching it with Diva Bomb and Bagel Sound Barrier. And UC Irvin will have Nano for it, but that's all they will have. So ultimately, not a great position for Boise State to be in, but they do have the ultimate advantage.
This.
Bomb is going to come out, and so is Sound Barrier, hoping for an aggro Sound Barrier, but leaving nothing for if the members of UC Irvin just full respawn after a wipe here, and it looks like it's not even going to be a wipe, as PG1 is the only one that has gone down so far. Matt Merck will also go down, as well as Light, and with 2 members down for Boise State, this 2CP, they'll be lucky if they get a tick. Looks like they're just going to go out as Mashiro has charged another Primal Rage and gone in there. Matt Merck was an unfortunate elimination, but once Plato got eliminated, that kind of sealed their fate there on 2CP. Just for reference, you usually never want to push a 2CP point down 2. That is going to be just hard loss, no matter how long you fight it out or how many eliminations you get, just because the respawns are right there. So Boise State following another unfortunate victim of UCI and 2CP respawns. Going into this, UCI is still at an ultimate advantage now, whereas they were at a slight disadvantage last fight. EMP, Death Blossom are definitely the ones we're looking for here. EMP is going to come out on just 2 members of Boise State, both of the tanks. They will be able to sustain through it, even without a sound barrier, and we're trying to speed on point at this point with the Coalescence. A huge purple comes out on the 3 members, which forces Boise State to be a little bit less aggro here. And with no limit, one elimination onto Supreme, and Boise State comes out with their own EMP and the Death Blossom. We were looking at it from UCI's perspective and hoping that those were going to be the big ultimates, but actually the big ultimates have been EMP Death Blossom for Boise State. But Boise State still needs to be ready for Light to respawn with that Death Blossom and immediately use it onto point if he can even get there, as XCal's going to get immediately eliminated. And that is Boise State taking second point, Temple of Anubis, with 2 minutes and 6 seconds to spare, which is a very good push here, especially against a team as evenly matched with them as UCI. 2 minutes and 6 seconds is huge on 2CP. There are plenty of teams, both professional and collegiate Overwatch, that just don't get to cap second point Temple of Anubis at all. So the fact that Boise State managed to do it with 2 minutes and 6 seconds, which is enough to make a really good push on first point, is phenomenal and puts them in a great position.
Ready for battle.
And it sounds like we are going to have a Reinhardt Ashe on the defense here, probably for the side of Boise State, who, again, as you can see, we are up 2 maps. So we really want to win this one and get a better position in the final. Both teams here have already earned their spots in the finals. This is just to determine who has the better seed going into them. So, which is, again, high skill, relatively low stakes game. Boise State looks set up on the May Ashe and the Reinhardt Diva, and we do have Lucio and Baptiste as the healer, so that will be an unpocketed Ashe, but still quite scary with Plato being the one playing the Ashe. UC Irvin has their double bubble that they've been relatively famous for, and their own Ashe and a Tracer with Anna Brigg as well. One member's going to go try to touch point. Light's just trying to be irritating here, see if he can catch anybody in Boise State out of position. He will be unable to find anybody after walking through the entirety of the Boise State team. Matt Burke will get the initial pick on the dash. Plato is looking for that Tracer, knows where he's going to come and is looking for it. XCal will get the elimination on the Bagel, which is not what we're looking for here, putting Boise State down 1 member, now down 2 members, as Goblin and PG are also going to be eliminated, still leaving these 2 teams at even points. Boise State is giving up a tick, almost 2 ticks here, as it is just the tanks alive at this point for the side of Boise State. There's not a ton they can do, especially as Mashiro is going to get eliminated by Matt Burke, Bagel's going to get eliminated by XCal, and Kel will also go down, leaving UCI with 5, almost 6 minutes to attack second point. But they don't have a huge ultimate advantage, so it's unlikely that they will be able to snowball this and cap it with like 5 minutes. Boise State just needs to win this next fight, and then they'll be in a relatively comfortable position. I mean, as comfortable as you can be, defending second point for 5 minutes. We do have Goblin with the Blizzard, which will be huge in trying to stop UCI from just insta-capping this second point here. Blizzard is gonna come out, and with no Diva to eat it, they're gonna get Ashe, they're gonna get PG, and at that point, UCI's push is probably done for. But Boise State still needs to get somebody on point to stop them from the tick. Huge sleep, Goblin will still live though, and Kel's gonna pop up with that triple kill, and that is Boise State stopping what could have been a snowball. 4 minutes and 50 seconds and ticking down. UCI has a lot of ultimates that they're going to use this fight. Boise State got off of the initial snowball, but this is their second attempt here with a massive ultimate advantage. Boise State needs to either hold aggressively and eliminate the people that they know have their ultimates, or they need to ult first. And it looks like Boise State is setting up not being able to ultimate first, as XCal is going to drop the bomb, but Matt Burke gets a big shatter. They will get punished for it, but the rest of their team is there to back them up. Boise State winning the team play battle. UCI still continuing to win the individual individual play battle, but plays like that Matt Merck shatter really just show how well Boise State is being able to work together here. Because even after Matt Merck was eliminated with the shatter, other members of Boise State were able to pick up everybody that Matt Merck shattered. That's a feels bad for Goblin, getting stuck on the Doomfist as you fly through the air. Boise State was a little too aggressive, leaving UCI to grab outside of their own spawn. But, I mean, and rally. But, I mean, luckily enough, they are going to get a tick just because they sent the Tracer to point. Plato's going to get a double kill, kind of stopping that push for UCI as they get just a single tick there. The benefit Boise State had was because they held so aggro and they got grabbed and rallied and this, that, and the other thing right outside of UCI spawn is they were able to all easily respawn before UCI could even get to point. And so now Boise State does have full team as UCI is approaching. PG won though, 60% already to another grab. Oh, poor Goblin. Walked into the Discord orb at the 100-yard Zarya. That's a rip in the chat. Light is looking to pick up Kel on that baby diva. Kel is fearing for his life here as Bagel's going to come to attempt to assist here. Light's going to get that Orb of Harmony and just nail the Pulse Bomb. PG1 now has another grab, and it will be up to them to use and probably will win this point then against Boise State here. They don't even have to use it, as Bagel was too far to touch on point and likely would not have been able to do much looking against all the members here. This was a pretty big May play here. They did actually end up living, which is pretty nice, and usually not what you expect to see when 3 members come at your sleeping form. Kel's going to pop off with the triple kill, though, leaving Goblin in a very safe place. That is probably one of the biggest things that Kel brings to the team, not only as Diva, but as other heroes as well. The constant peel for other team members is huge. Like, somebody on Boise State is having a problem, Kel's there, Kel's going to pick up the eliminations, and you're no longer having a problem.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
And it looks like Boise State is still running the standard dive versus the UCI double bubble. And after that PG1 charging a grab immediately after a fight, ready to get the point, we see why they run the double bubble. Just because they're incredibly good at it. We do have both teams with a Reaper, but where the two teams differ is their support lineup and the Sombra for the Ashe. But the support lineup difference has been pretty consistent for both of the teams. UCI likes to run the Ana Brig, and Boise State likes to run the Lucio and Baptiste/Moira. Chosen has been swapping back and forth between the two. Ana's going to get a little bit of just barely out of spawn ult charge here as Matt Merck is going to jump in. Plato's there with him. Dash is going to get eliminated. Pretty consistent on Boise State, eliminating the Brig first. And Supreme, that is no support for UCI. So you got to think as long as Boise State respects the skill of UCI, we have this fight. We have this fight without even anybody getting eliminated, and it looks like UCI is just going to give it to them and try not to let them cap second point. Which is actually a wise decision on UCI's part, not to charge Boise State's ultimates more than they've already been charged, because Boise State won that fight so quickly and without any resistance whatsoever. They do not actually have any ultimates to charge to attack this second point to attempt to snowball with, but it looks like they're still just going to go right to point, try to catch the members of UCI off guard here. Goblin 39-40 now to the EMP, which is going to be the big ultimate, but XCal, big ultimate for UCI, 67% there. Matt Merck is going to be hovering right at around 200 HP. Definitely a scary situation. XCal now 92 to the Bob. Unless somebody eliminates him, there's going to be a Bob on that point. There's not going to be much that Bob's going to go onto the point. Contest against Boise State. Not quite going to be able to get there. And Boise State now has ultimates to stop UCI from even touching the point as Matt Merck is going to primal in their spawn and leave Boise State full capped on Temple of Anubis with 54 seconds remaining. And this is what I meant when I was talking about how 2 minutes is a very, very solid amount of time to have, because it gives you, you have time to prepare for your push first point, and then you have time to prepare for your push second point. And it definitely, and they had an extra 54 seconds, so almost half their time there, because they won first fight so cleanly. But even if they didn't, they had a little bit of a comfort there with the 2 minutes. And so UCI will have that comfort and a little bit more on their own push, trying to stop Boise State here. But as long as Boise State can win a fight first point and win a fight second point, UCI should not be able to take this. Or they can just win 2 to 3 fights first point, or just win all of them second fight. Boise State is in the position where they only have to win at maximum 3 or 4 fights. And even if it goes to 4 fights, that fight will be incredibly scrappy, probably on the side of UC Irvine or Boise State either way, which is why I say kind of like 3 or 4. We set up with the Moira, with the Play-Doh. If Boise State can win even a fight on first point, it puts them in a very comfortable position just because rotations take so long on Temple of Anubis. And with only 2 minutes and 42 seconds, things are comfortable for UCI, but not optimal. Matt Merck is going to go down, which is not necessarily what Boise State's looking for here, but holding right outside their spawn. You got to expect to lose a few members there, as XCal's going to go ahead and not get the tick just because Cal, defender of the point, is there just barely as the members of Boise State pull back. PG1 will get the elimination on the Play-Doh, who was left as the members made their beeline to first point. Matt Merck going down first really put a damper on Boise State's whole first point hold here, and of course it wasn't their fault. They were holding outside of spawn and got eliminated after that. But now Boise State is here trying to defend first point, and honestly, they're just going for time. Boise State is not necessarily trying to win this fight as Kel goes down and Matt Merckx gets Exel. They're just trying to bleed time, because now a minute has been bled off of UC Irvine, but the danger of doing some scrappy fights like this is they charge UCI's ultimates. And so now with 2 minutes and 6 seconds going into a cap, this second point here, UCI has a little bit of an ultimate advantage. They have the nano going in, whereas Boise State has nothing, but several Boise State ultimates are close. Matt Merck will have to charge Primal Rage, and Goblin will have to charge EMP as fast as they possibly can to stop this snowball here. The nano's going to go in, immediately charging the Primal Rage. Primal Rage will not be used just yet because Nano is still being used, but Matt Merck will use his own Primal Rage, and Goblin is now 99, 100 EMP, and needs to land a big one. Chosen is going to get hacked, but so is PG1, and now Light is also going to be hacked. Goblin living with 10 HP and a dream, as Supreme's going to go down, and that's probably fight for UCI there, as their main healer is going to go down on 2 CP, even as Monkey's going to hold the members of Boise State in their spawn. Light's going to get the elimination onto Kel. Matt Merck will be eliminated, and even without their Anna, UCI is able to take that point, which on paper, you lose your main healer, you lose the fight on 2 CP, right? But UCI is just so individually skilled that they can take and win fights like that against Boise State, who isn't exactly a low-skill team either. UCI is just so incredibly good at the individual play. We see it here with the Death Blossom, and then we saw it after that with the Mashiro on the Monkey. Oh my gosh, that man's Monkey has been a thorn in Boise State's side the whole time, with Primal and without. But Boise State is still just 13 seconds down, as both teams are going to get the opportunity to cap first, second, and second point again. Excuse me. And this is what I was talking about when I said earlier, there are 3 equally likely outcomes from Temple of Anubis. The first is Boise State wins, which is what we're hoping for. The second is UCI wins, and the third is this is just a tie. And then we go to control. Both teams are now mirrored, with the exception of Bagel and Chosen and Supreme and Dash being on completely different support heroes, the Ana Brig versus the Lucia Moira. Matt Merck is going to be taking a little bit weak there. They're taking some spam. They're going left-hand room with a dive comp, which is very, very interesting. They're probably going to try to dive from that middle high ground and see what they can do here, but first they have to get out of the room before they're able to dive anywhere. Bagel is on the lookout for that Sombra or that Reaper that might come at them from high ground. Boise State taking a lot of time with this rotation, but taking time to win a fight is definitely viable as they're going to commit to the dive to the right. Nobody has gone down yet. Both team supports being able to 100% sustain, but Goblin doesn't have sight in that room, so Boise State is effectively down a DPS until Goblin can rotate here. Goblin's going to touch the point. PG1 is going to drop. Dash and Light are going to go down. Supreme's going to go down with him. That leaves UCI with no support. Boise State took him a minute to rotate, but it looks like they're going to win this fight, so it will all be worth it. And because that fight took so long, Boise State should be able to just snowball ultimates and be able to take second point before UCI has a charge. UCI will have the Nano, and because of that, they will also get Primal Rage, but Goblin needs to EMP before they can get one or the other of those out, and really what he needs to stop is XCal's own EMP. The Sombras are the people to watch. Nano's going to come out on the Light. They really want that Death Blossom. They're unable to get it. Plato's going to go ahead and get value out of his own just because of a huge Goblin EMP there. Boise State now 3 up, approaching the second point. They have a tick. They're still climbing. They're still up. All their members full strength in the fight. UCI is going to have to land the EMP of their life, but even if they do, they don't have the follow-up to do anything with it. The Mashiro on the Monkey. Ultimate is going to come out. At this point, UCI is just putting Body at the point. Body's on the point. The Supreme is also going to get eliminated. The Diva Bomb's going to go in the air. The Baby Diva is going to get eliminated before they can even remake, which is exactly what we always love to see. UCI is just feeding Boise State stats at this point as they throw them onto the point. And Boise State, that is a full cap of second point with only a minute, which is huge and was only an available option to Boise State because of the ultimates they charged and because of Goblin's massive EMP. We knew the second point fight was going to be a battle of who got EMP first and who did it better. And the answer to both of those questions is absolutely Goblin. And now UCI is put in the relatively difficult position of only having a minute and 13 seconds to cap both first and second point of Anubis. This is definitely within UCI's skill level. However, I will say, if Boise State can do it, it's likely UCI will be able to do it as well. But Boise State has a strategy for that. They're pulling out the Symmetra and they're pulling out the Bastion. And honestly, UCI hasn't necessarily seen that from Boise State before. Just in addition to it also being a hugely advantageous team comp on this map, especially because Boise State has been playing very, very coordinated all night. And coming out with something unexpected, when you only have a minute and 13 seconds, it's unlikely UCI will be able to deal with something unexpected being thrown at them. So Boise State is really set up for success here.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
UCI is approaching. They haven't necessarily scouted out the Bastion just yet. Goblin waiting until the last minute to show, and here it is, and hopefully the eliminations are going to come immediately after that. They're peeking the Ana. No Sleep comes out. Monkey's going to dive up in that corner but not be eliminated. Bagel with that damage boost. We still haven't found any eliminations, and now at this point UCI knows they're there, and they have to push out of that room into a Bastion with one of their members just kind of like by a bridge, unable to get to them as Reaper's going to commit the teleport. Monkey's going to jump in. Monkey is hopefully going to be melted down relatively quick. Dash is going to be able to shield bash and get out of there. And the members of UCI are living, but not touching point. And with 24 seconds, the next elimination Boise State gets could spell victory here. Dash is going to go down. UCI, their chances of success are about 10% at this point. As Goblin's just going to continue to rain some stuff down onto the point, it's going to take a miracle for UCI to even be able to cap first point here, just because Boise State came out with the incredibly unexpected Bastion. Supreme still getting the Nano out, gets the elimination on the Goblin and Bagel, and Boise State is now the one put in an unexpected position through the individual skill of Mashiro, Supreme, and Light. XCal's also going to get an elimination. Boise State definitely on their back foot here. And oh my God, UCI is just going to take first point purely because of cracked individual skill here. Getting the elimination onto both Goblin and Bagel was huge and only came out because of the Nano Monkey and the Reaper right on top of them. So even though Supreme died, they gave their team the opportunity to cap first point. But UCI has one shot at this. And with the EMP onto 3 members, that shot is looking pretty good. As they're going to eliminate Goblin, Bagel will likely be unable to res. They're camping the body. That is now Boise State down 2, but this is 2 CP, so the members will be back relatively quickly. Bagel is going to get the res, which could prove to be huge on Boise, but only if members can touch the point. As Kel's going to drop that bomb on point. Supreme and Mashiro are going to go down, and you got to think that's game at this point, as Boise State has them. Goblin's going to get the elimination onto PG1, sealing UCI's fate. And for the first time in 4 matchups, Boise State, just this season, Boise State has eaten 3 losses from UCI. And here tonight, we turned it around with a 3-1 victory, only giving up 1 map, which was Numbani, to UCI. This is huge. This is monumental. We're super excited here at Boise State that win just came out. And honestly, players, go celebrate at this point, because you have given everybody else that is a Boise State fan, you have done them a great service. So go do something nice for yourself. We're feeling pretty good about that matchup. And it does look like our Idaho Central player of the game is going to end up being Kel. Honestly, couldn't have picked it better myself. Kel is always a solid pick. And this Diva Bomb gave Boise State the opportunity to keep pushing on Numbani. Otherwise, they just would have been stopped. Point 1. And the player of the game is brought to you by Idaho Central Credit Union, who believes a great player makes a team more successful, just like Idaho Central is helping members achieve financial success. Kel is the Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game, because Kel's got it all as a player. They've got the flashy Diva bombs. They've got the peel for their teammates. Kel on the Diva is always a force to be reckoned with, and we saw that Goblin Blizzard that was also huge. And this sleep, Goblin lived solely because Kel charged in to defend Goblin's honor and got the triple kill there onto Supreme Light and Mashiro. We always love to watch Kel play Diva, and they are going to be our Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game, which is very well deserved. And just as a little bit of wrap up before we head to the top 5 plays of the tonight, Boise State's feeling pretty good. We've done something we have never been able to do before, and we're even in a better position for the playoffs. And honestly, the big thing that happened tonight was not the fact that we're in a better position for the playoffs, but the fact that we were able to beat a team we have never been able to beat before. We did something like previous years or previous iterations of the Boise State team would have been unthinkable. We climbed the mountain that is UCI. So before we go to our top 5 plays, great job, Boise State. All the individual members really came together as a team, and UCI will probably see you later in the playoffs, or at least in later seasons. Down, but so is Maywall, so Bob does not get in that room for the side of Boise State. UCI Light on the Tracer looking for a good pulse bomb opportunity. Boise State's going to go speed lower, maybe commit the Blizzard. That is a huge 6-man purple, as Supreme is going to get the elimination on Chosen, which fantastic on a play, and that's a double-man bomb just as Matt here taking some damage from that Cole Cassidy a little bit. PG1 is also going to go down on that ball. Goblin's waiting for the opportunity to Death Blossom. You got to get the Diva out of mech first, though. He's just going to go ahead and push it and get that Ana, which is exactly what you're looking for. Individual to XCal's going to get caught out in the high noon. The 2, Ana's going to get a little bit of just barely out of spawn ult charge here, as Matt Merck is going to jump in. Plato's there with him. Dash is going to get eliminated. Pretty consistent on Boise State, eliminating the Brig first. And Supreme, that is no support for UCI. So you got to think, as long as Boise State